the next plugin we're going to look at is the Yikes Easy Form plugin for Mailchimp, for WordPress. Now, Yikes is my preferred plugin to use for a couple of reasons. A, it is free, so if you're paying for everything that you need to use for your business, costs are going to mount up massively. So it is a free plugin. It works extremely well, and you can create as many forms as you like with the plugin. So let's go and have a look at the plugin. We are done with that one and that one. So yeah, Easy Forms for Mailchimp by Yikes plugins. As you can see, it's got over 100,000 active plugin users. It's regularly updated, and yeah, it works really well. There's a bit of a video there to show you how to do it, but I'm going to do that anyway. Some screenshots. So yeah, so Yikes Easy Forms plugin. So I'm just going to go to my plugins. I've already got this installed. If you go to add new plugins in your WordPress dashboard and type in Yikes, it'll come up as the first one there. And then I'm going to go to Yikes Easy Forms for Mailchimp. Activate. Cool. Now, as you can see just behind me down here, we've got this Easy Forms with a little chimp logo over here. I'm just going to move me a bit further over. In fact, I'm going to move me up here out of the way. So Easy Forms. Now, if we just click on that, and you see it says we are not connected, so we need to go to the settings page and enter our API key. I'm in the way again. I'm going to move myself over here. No, down here, out of the way. Okay. So API key. Now, if you remember, API key is in our account. We go to extras and API keys, and we can copy the key, go back to our settings and paste the key there. Nonce validation is it's a form of basic protection to make sure that when forms are completed and submitted, they are kind of completed from where they're meant to be completed. The idea behind it is that the information on this form isn't then replicated somewhere else, and then bots can attack it freely and then just send a load of data to your Mailchimp account. So nonce validation is a form of security. Don't really need to know much details about that, but just leave it turned on and save changes. Super. Now, if we go to, we can see over on the right hand side here, we've got additional settings. We're in the general settings at the moment. We go to integration settings, and we've got the option of adding an opt-in checkbox next to different forms that we've got. So we've got things like the WordPress registration form when people register for an account in your WordPress website. We've got the WooCommerce checkout form. We can add an opt-in box there. And we've got the comment form for like commenting on blog posts. We've got the options where we can add it there. So we can turn those on, and then when people fill in those forms, they have an option of opting in from that very point as well. They will be entering their email addresses into those sections. So it is a great point to try and get extra people onto your list as well. ReCAPTCHA settings. Again, we can enable Google reCAPTCHA from here. It doesn't have to be enabled on your Mailchimp account, but we can enable it from here. What we need, if we do enable it, is a reCAPTCHA site key and secret key, which we set up from Google. There's a link there that will take you to Google to get your reCAPTCHA key, and you can set that up and then copy and paste your site key and secret key and save the changes. And that will put the little, verify you're human Google checkbox. It'll either be a tick box that you have to tick and wait, or it'll be the 9 grid images that where it's asking you to pick certain parts of the image that have got like signposts or cars or something like that in the image. Obviously, once you've verified that you're human, it'll allow you to continue. API cache settings. So your website will store Mailchimp data for an hour. We can clear that data so it's empty and build up again. We don't really need to worry about that too much. Debug settings. If you are having issues, you might want to turn the enable debugging on, and then we can check logs for any sort of issues if you can actually understand the information that's in there. So I'm just going to click save on that. I'm going to enable that. Import export. So when you do create forms, you can export your forms. So if you're replicating your website for something very similar, you can import your forms or whatever, for whatever reason you want to export your forms. Maybe you're deleting the website and you want to re-import them a little bit later on. Export plugin settings you can do. So you've always got your settings stored offline, and then you can import later on for whatever reason. Okay, opt-in forms. So this is where we can create our forms. We can create, I don't think we're limited on here, so we can create multiple forms. And to get started, we simply, from the right-hand side here, create a new sign-up form. Let's give it a name. So we'll call this one, what did we call the last one? Okay, let's call this WordPress Mailchimp Form 2. We can give it a description if we like. It's not a necessity. It doesn't show up anywhere. It's just for our use. And we can pick associated lists in our Mailchimp account, of which we've only got one. And then we click on Create. Okay, so we're in currently. There's our form name. There's our form description if we want to add it. And what we're in here is the Form Builder section. So what do we want on our form in our Mailchimp account? So as you can see over at the right here, we've got form fields, interest groups, and tags. And we can see under the form fields, we've got a list of email address, data use agreement, first name, last name, address, website, phone number. And these are the options that we set in our form builder. If we just go back and have a look at our form builder, you can see these were the options that were set. And these are the options we've now got within the plugin, which is great. So depending on what we need, again, we pick the ones that we need. Now the ones with the asterisks are the ones that we've set as required in our Mailchimp form builder. So we want first name, I want that. Last name, I want that. Data use agreement, I want that. Email, it automatically puts email address in for us. Now the great thing with Yikes is if we get them in the wrong order, we can actually drag and drop the fields as to where we need them, like so. We'll drop that down there. And then we've got settings for each one. So for first name, the merge tag we can't change. Placeholder is where we actually insert the text when we're typing into a form. Placeholder can have some text already in there, so it might say in here, enter your first name. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this is a placeholder, and then when you see the form, when we put it onto a page, you actually see that text show up. And I'll leave it in that one only. Default value, so it can have some text in there already that's set. This isn't, if somebody doesn't put any text in there, it won't leave it with this is a placeholder. It's just like a background text that isn't really submitted. But we can have default text in there where it tells people a little, or it puts some default text in there. And if people don't change that, then that's the text that gets submitted. Description, we can give it a description so people get you know, if we're after some more information, like if we're after a website, you know, we could say don't forget the www or don't forget the http prefix. Description by default will be below the field. We can have it appear above the field by this. Additional classes, so we can put some sort of CSS settings in there if you know what you're doing. Is this field required? Tick for yes. Do we want this field hidden? We can have it there and hidden. So we can click on that to hide the field, and we can actually hide the label as well. Okay, last name, same sort of settings. Now what I'm going to do with this one, I'm going to leave the placeholder blank so you can see the difference. And I'm actually going to put hide the label as well so you can see the difference. Email address, again, very similar thing, placeholder, default values, descriptions, above, hide the label. We can hide the label if we want. We cannot hide this field and we cannot make this one not required. Now, although we can actually make these not required, because they are actually required in Mailchimp, it's going to cause us issues with submitting data. So make sure if it is required in Mailchimp, you have it selected as required in Yikes as well. The data use agreement, let's look at that setting on that one. Again, we can actually have a default selection, but we've built this to be GDPR compliant, so it cannot be pre-selected by default. Again, description above field. Is it required? Yes, it is required. It should be required in here, and it's not for some reason. I'm going to make that required. Settings. Yep. So we're going to make this one required. And we're going to hide. We're not going to hide anything, and we're just going to click on update form. Okay. So we've built the form for how we want it. Now we want to make sure that when we subscribe or when we put some data in there, that it goes to the right places, so we can actually send people directly into a group in Mailchimp, and we can add tags as well. So we're going to do both. So we're going to pick on the offers. If you remember when we were building groups and stuff, we said we've got to have hidden groups, and we built these hidden groups for, the example was you're a car valeting company and you have 3 different offers, or I think it was 4 different offers. One was for the Ultimate Exterior Shine ebook, one was for the Interior Dashboard ebook, one was for Leather Seats Care, and one was for Alloy Wheel Care. So we had 4 groups that we set up that were hidden. So if you imagine you're using this on a landing page where we're offering, you know, we're talking about interior dashboard shining and how to get a great shine, keep your dashboard looking new, then this whole form is related to just that group. So when people sign up for that offer, for that ebook, you want them to go directly into that group, and then we can have them, we can have that triggering automation in Mailchimp and send out the actual PDF in an email. So yeah, we can select offers there from the groups and add it to the form. So when we look at the settings, we've got the default selection that we want it to be. So we're talking about the interior dashboard one, so we want it to be the interior ebook. Again, there's a description, default a description above the field. Is it required? It's not required, but we've got it default selected. And what we're going to do is we're actually going to hide this field. So the whole field is not going to be visible to the subscriber. But when they submit, it's going to be as if it's there and as if that interior ebook is selected. So they submit, and it's automatically selected to interior ebook. So they're going to go to the interior ebook group. Okay, so let's update the form. And tags, when we go to tags, we can see what tags we've got available to us in Mailchimp. Now there is a warning there, due to limitations in Mailchimp's API, tags are not currently supported for double opt-in sign-up. So if you do use double opt-in, tags might be an issue, which is one of the reasons why I've moved to, I used to just use tags, but it's one of the reasons why I now moved to interest groups as well, just because that works for both double opt-in and non-double opt-in. If you're not using double opt-in, then yes, you can use a tag. I haven't actually set up a tag for to match this, so I'm just going to pick employee just to match, so that when I do a test on this and show you, you can see that the tag gets added and the group gets added as well. And you can see up here now, we've got the tags up the top, it just says employee. I'm going to update the form again. Oops. Okay, so that is the form pretty much ready to use in a way. Let's just check over all the settings. Some of the settings for the form, we can put some CSS classes in there, sort of like background colors for the box, and we can change certain aspects of the design, like the button color and things like that. There is quite a good help document on the Yikes website on how to do some CSS for this. I've relied on that because I'm not a coder. I've relied on that to sort of customize my forms myself. There is a Yikes form customer add-on which you can pay for. I'm not sure how much that is. Yeah, it's $30 per website pretty much. So if you use multiple websites, it's going to be quite costly. But yes, there was a link somewhere. I can't remember where I saw the link, but I'll put a link in the description so you can go to that, and it will give you some idea on how to use CSS to customize your form a little bit more. Okay, form layout, inline, enable or disable. So by default, the form will be with the fields on top of each other. Name, last name, first name, last name, email address, data use agreement, submit, which is fine. That's how most forms are laid out. But you could have a really, really short form where you just have email address, submit button. So you could have it where it's inline, not on top of each other, but inline, and it can take up a really, really narrow space on your page, which is, it looks really neat and tidy on a wide page when it's inline. So you do have that option of having it inline. I'll leave it as it is at the moment, and then I'll dive in to the settings, and we'll show you what an inline form looks like. The submit button, we can actually replace the submit button with an image, so you could have a really fancy image of a submit button, or you can leave it as text and actually change the name of it from submit to opt in, or whatever you decide to choose. Again, there's some CSS that you can do to the button. Let's change it, the code, to change the color. A great thing about this as well with Yikes I really like is form restrictions. So you could have offers that are only on for a short period of time. So if you've got a landing page that's saying like, I'm going to give you product X for 50% off, but it's only available for a week, you can actually schedule the sign-up form on that for start and end date. So if people if people end up on your landing page after the offer is closed, you can actually prevent them from signing up and taking the offer. You can put a message, sign up is not yet open, so you can have a message before it opens to say, you're going to have to come back after this date. And then you can have a message for when it closed to say, sorry, you missed out, basically. This ended on such and such, depending on the settings that you've got here, as you can see. Okay, so that's a really handy feature if you want to. And there is also a feature where it says require logon. So if you've got like a membership WordPress website, you can have an offer purely for your members. Now, to make sure that that doesn't get shared with anybody else, you can then turn this on to require login, so that only your members can get access, because they'd have to be logged in to their account on your website in order to sign up for this offer that you're doing. Okay, so that's another really good feature of Yikes. Okay, so that's the form settings. I'm just going to click on update form there. Okay, custom messages. So there are some default messages that come up as we've seen in Mailchimp already. If somebody's already subscribed to Mailchimp, and this is an issue around certain features of Mailchimp. If somebody's already subscribed to Mailchimp, let's say you've got 3 offers. Somebody comes along, takes you up on offer 1, gets that free ebook, and then they like the look of offer 2 and they want to come along and get offer 2, or you've sent them to get offer 2 because you say, you know, this will really help you out in your business journey too. You want to help them out. You've got the free resource available to them. Let them have it. Now, if they've taken offer 1 and then they come along and try to take offer 2, then basically they're trying to subscribe, or they're trying to subscribe, but because they're already subscribed, it won't let them resubscribe. Now, this is a problem you get with Mailchimp landing pages. Mailchimp landing pages doesn't really give you an error. It'll kind of go through the motions, and sometimes it will actually take into account the changes that somebody's made, or if they're trying to sign up for a form and you've got an email automation attached to it, it will actually send that out, but not immediately. Kind of like struggles to process it, and sometimes it doesn't work. It's a bit of an issue with the Mailchimp stuff. Now, the great thing about Yikes is that you can actually get around that with a setting that I'll show you in a minute. But what this message is basically saying here, that if somebody's if somebody's already subscribed and they're trying to take this offer and they're basically trying to resubscribe again, the error says you're already subscribed, and then to update your Mailchimp profile, please, and it puts a link. Click to send yourself an update link, and then people can go in and update the profiles. But that doesn't really work for offers. It doesn't give them the option of saying I want offer 2, and it's a long-winded way around. It doesn't. You don't really want that. But we have a setting to get around it, so that's fine. Some of the other messages are the success message and the error message and the general error message. So we can actually change any of these by typing whatever we want into these fields here. I've not changed anything here, and we're going to have a look over at the form settings on the top right corner. So we've got the form. This is the form which we're editing. This is the shortcode that we'll enter into our page, which will display the form. If you don't know what shortcode is, you'll see when I do that in a minute. Associated list settings, so we can pick the list or the audience that we want people to sign up for. We've only got the 1. And we can actually refresh and clear the cache from here. Opt-in settings. Now we can, even though we've got double opt-in turned off in our Mailchimp settings, we can actually have this form do a double opt-in. It's selected to double at the moment, so it will make sure that people go through the double opt-in process, even though we've got the setting turned off in Mailchimp. I'm just going to leave it on single. So we can do a demonstration, it's quicker. And as you can see, the message here actually just says it's changed now because we're now a single opt-in. Put it back to double and see. So a double opt-in says check your email for confirmation message, so we can do that double opt-in. But a single just says thank you for subscribing. We can change that. Update existing subscribers. So this relates to this resubscribe issue that I was on about. If we select no, it doesn't try to update them, and it just gives them an error. As you can see, it's changed the messages down here. So it does say resubscribers not permitted. The email you entered is already a resubscriber to a subscriber to the list, and you cannot resubscribe. So what we do want to do is we want to update the existing subscriber. Yeah, so it automatically updates them with the information that we've sent. So like the groups that they're going to be in and the tags that are associated to them. So this email that we've got at the bottom, we've got, shall we send the update email? No, not really. Not for the example that we're doing. You may want that to be sent. I don't. It's not really going to have an adverse effect on people or anything like that. Okay, so that's the opt-in settings. Submission settings. Keep an Ajax on. Basically means that the details are sent and you don't have to refresh the page. We really don't want people to have to refresh the page. Redirect on submission. So we've got no at the moment. So when somebody submits or when somebody enters their details and clicks on submit, they will basically be shown this message here. Thank you for subscribing. That's what they will be seen underneath the form. If we have a redirect, then we can select a different page in our website to send people to. So we can simply pick our page. So you may have a thank you page or a video page that you want them to see or something like that. So you can pick a page from your website to send them to. Okay, we can have that page open in a new window, so it keeps the existing window open and opens it in a new window, which we don't really want. I'm just going to leave that as no for now. We have this option of hide the form after sign up. So on your page, you will have the opt-in form below all your sort of sales text, or you may have the opt-in form on your blog post. Now, when somebody completes that form can then hide and not be seen and be not visible. Now that's up to you if you want that to be hidden or not. Sometimes, depending on the build or how you've built the page around the form, if it hides, it kind of looks a bit odd and it looks like there's something missing. But if it's just the form at the bottom of like a blog post, then when it disappears, it might not look a bit too untoward. In which case, you might want to have it hidden. But if you do have the redirect on anyway, it doesn't really matter because if it hides, you're getting redirected to a different page, so you're not going to see it anyway. So you've got that option of hiding the form after people have submitted it. Existing interest groups. So we've got this set up to put somebody into a group. Now, if we leave this on replace, what it'll do is it'll take people out of existing groups and put them into the new group. Now, we might not really want that because if they are, say, a course member and we've got them in a group called course, then if they're halfway through that course and then they just decide to get you one of your offers for some reason and you've left this on replace, it's going to take them out of the course group and then they're not going to get the rest of the course emails from you. So generally, I like to leave this on updates. So what it does is it keeps people in existing groups. It updates their information with the new group. And so it puts them in the offer group as well, rather than taking them out of the other groups. And that is it on the settings. So we're just going to update the form. Now, as you can see in Easy Forms, we can actually, let me just click on the opt-in forms. So there's our one form that we've created, and now we can go ahead and create another form. So we can create as many forms as we like. What we're going to do is just look at the shortcode, and I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to go to a new page and just create, just put the shortcode in. If you're using Mailchimp, if you're using WordPress before Gutenberg, you can put this into a basic text box and it will show up as a form. In the Gutenberg version, we do actually have something called a shortcode. And if you try and put it in the normal text box, it converts it to a shortcode anyway. Just paste that in there. And if you're using a builder, this website's got a Themify builder on. We've got a lot more design options, but that's a completely different subject anyway. So I'm just going to put the shortcode in there and update this page. and then view the page. And there is our form. So as you can see, when we set it up, I did on the first name, I put there, this is a placeholder in the placeholder section. So you can see where that shows up. In the last name, we actually hid the title, so we can't see the last name title. So email address, we didn't do anything to, and there's the data use agreement, which is basically the GDPR confirmation box. We renamed the button to opt-in, as you can see here, and that is our form. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go back in. I'm going to edit the form, like so. I'm just going to get rid of that placeholder in the first name. In the last name, we're going to turn the title visibility, the label visibility back on. We're going to update that. In the form settings, we are going to do an inline form this time. Again, we're going to update that. And we're going to see the difference that makes now to the form. So as you can see, it's nicely, it's fit to the width of the page. It's fully made use of that space, and it's nice and tidy on top of each other. Yes, okay, we're missing some labels and stuff, which makes it look a little bit messy, but you can see it's a nice tight form. If we had this in columns, we could make it smaller. You know, if we had it in a 3-column, we could have it in the middle, and it would be nicely spaced out. So now we'll just change this to an inline form and put these back to normal. So I'm just going to refresh this page. And as you can see, we've now got this inline form where everything is in one line. Now, it does look a bit messy because this text is too, you know, it doesn't really fit in here. But if I just go back to the settings again and we get rid of first name. Actually, before we do that, because it's going to give us an error if we try and submit. If we get rid of first name and last name, we're going to have an error when we try to submit, because we've got first name and last name required by default in Mailchimp. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to quickly put in a name in here. Let's call it Harry Billing. I'm going to put any old email in here. We're going to agree to the data use, and we're going to opt in. There we go. Thank you for subscribing. That's the message that comes up. It wasn't set to hide afterwards, so it still shows, and it wasn't set to forward, so it doesn't forward us anywhere. Okay, so we've just made a submission, which we'll go and check on in a minute. But what I want to do is just show you what it can look like if we just get rid of a couple of fields and just have some really nice small inline form. So we'll get rid of first name. I'm going to get rid of last name. I'm just going to get rid of the data use agreement here as well at the moment. Update the form. Okay, let's refresh this page. And you can see we've got this nice, simple, just email address and opt-in button in a nice little space. Doesn't take up too much space. It's clean, it's tidy, it's really, really simple. It looks really, really good. So that's the inline form. Okay, just to remind you, because we started back, that was in form settings and inline form enabled there. Disable it, update, and refresh. That's a non-inline form where it's on top of each other. Okay, so we've just done a submission with an email address. It wasn't real, but let's go and have a look at our audience. Let's view the contacts. And here we are, we've got Harry Billing, who's just submitted his information. He agreed to the data use policy. And as you can see, we told, actually, We didn't see the groups in the form, but because it was hidden, it's actually put him into the interior ebook group like we expected. And we set a tag as an employee. It's tagged him as an employee. So the great thing is now that we can have an automation triggered for when somebody enters the group, and we can target the interior ebook group, and it can send an email out with that interior ebook PDF attached. So Yikes, easy forms, you know, it's really, really good. It's better than the Mailchimp form for WordPress by Iberia code, because you can do as many forms as you like, and there's a few extra settings in there. There's some really good settings for things like scheduling when forms can be filled in, and limiting it to people who are logged in on their account on your website. You know, there's some really, really great features in there. It's quite a powerful plugin for, you know, considering it's absolutely free. Yes, you're going to have to learn some code to design it, or stump up the cost for paying for the license for your website. But again, it does give quite a good help file in the Yikes website, and I'll put a link to that in the course description notes, and you can go in there and see it and start just playing about.